John, you tweeted yesterday that the political question is whether the state should ban this book. The answer to that must be no. When the state starts banning things, it is a slippery slope. We're better off accepting we live in a free society, and sometimes that means things will happen that some think are repugnant, and you certainly added your agreement with that sentiment. You also said, I agree with David Limbrick. This is for parents to police, not the state, and I very much hope they do. When I read the wise words of Jesus, I see a teacher who is concerned with changing people's heart and not coercing them. He taught that if a man wants to commit adultery in his heart, then in God's eyes, he already has. If we ban a book, but some people still desire to read it, then we haven't changed any hearts, but we have empowered a busybody state, ending the quote. So, John, my first question is, do you not believe in the place for classification boards, including its right to refuse classification, which formally bans books from sale and distribution in Australia?
Yeah, look, generally speaking, I don't believe in politicians and bureaucrats setting up classification boards. Now, what we have seen in the last few days, Dave, is a classic example of why we don't need government censorship. We've had this appalling book come out. The Sydney Morning Herald has twice written it itself. Oh, it's just a book about sex education. It's nothing about that. Well, it's a lot more than that, okay? Now, I am a unity ticket, Dave, with you and a lot of your listeners, that this is an appalling book. And I very much hope that young children do not read it. I think it's a dangerous book. Okay, but then the question is, so we are on a unity ticket when it comes to the moral question. But what we have seen this week about the political question is, I think you're saying, and you know we're mates, okay, but we're having a polite disagreement here.
Yeah.
I think you are saying, no, I want the state to come down and force behaviour under the threat of violence, because that's what the government is at the end of the day. The government's got power because it can threaten violence, and it does threaten violence, okay? It does execute violence. Now, what we saw this week is that without a classification board, well, they didn't get involved in this one, obviously, we had magnificent people like yourself and Kirralie Smith and Rachel Wong rise up, educate the community, say, look, this book's for sale, and the people without government involvement, the people rose up, and now the book has been largely withdrawn. Now you can get it online. I think you can get one or two bookshops, but it's basically been, it's been sort of, without the government being involved, it has largely been censored. Now this is the better way forward. I think there should be more of it. We saw it with Bud Light in the United States recently. Bud Light's sales have crashed. It's not because of the government, okay, it's because of people rising up, okay, and this is how it should be done. The problem with banning things, and look, in my heart, I want to ban this book, in my heart. But my head says, hey, John, if we give the government the power to start banning this book, then the government's going to say, okay, well, we're going to ban this book, and everyone agrees we should ban this book, well, then we're going to ban this book. And then it's just going to grow. Now, then the community mood might change at some point. Then they might want to start saying, oh, well, look, we've banned these books. Let's ban a whole new category of books. Censorship is, across history, it's the baddies who do censorship.